when I stepped up to him, he stepped back, and the guy that swung on me was to my left, so I head kicked him first.
Yeah.
So he went down, and then the other guy that punched me, I punched him next, and he went down, and then I started, beating him while he was on the ground, and the other guy started running, so I went after him. So long story short, I was actually in mount punching the guy that swung on me. He had like long hair. I don't remember what else he looked like, but I was on top of him. I was sitting on him and ground and pounding him. And then all of a sudden I see the police headlights and police light on me.
Was it the same ones?
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time! Presenting the champion of the world, WamBam Benamino!
Yo, it's your boy, it's Phil WamBam Benamino, and it's another WamBam Wednesday. And again, the show about ordinary people have done extraordinary things. And as always, we got a special guest for you today. But first, as always, we tell you the show is free. So we ask you, please, go down there and subscribe to our show. Subscribe it. Tell 2 or 3 friends about us, okay? Share it with them. Like it. Let people know so we can continue to pump out this great content. Because, it's people like you that keep the show going. And today is just an ordinary guy, kinda, okay? He's actually from Bosnia. That's right, Bosnia. But he's here. He's moved here to the United States, and we're going to tell you all about him. We have Amir Dadovic in the house. Amir, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So, viewers, just so you know, Amir is a Muay Thai boxing, right? Champion?
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai.
Yeah.
You know what? So many people say Mai Tai, right?
Yeah,
it's like the drink, right? Type of thing.
Right.
But it's Muay Thai,
Yeah.
and it's a form of martial arts, and it's not an easy one. I'm just telling you right now. Now, they say actually Muay Thai is one of the harder ones.
Yeah.
Now, why is it that you chose Muay Thai over anything else prior to Jiu-Jitsu? You got kickboxing, you got there's so many different, ways to fight. Why was that something that appealed to you?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think it evolved kind of. I did boxing, I did karate, I did taekwondo, and it kind of like at that time when I was younger and I started doing Muay Thai, it was like I felt like it was like the most complete form, like the most honest. Like boxing, if we agreed on a boxing match, it's like, hey, we're gonna see who can throw the hands the best. But what if I can kick and now you don't know how to kick? It's like an advantage to me. But if you also can kick, so you can elbow, you can knee, you can clinch, you can do a lot of different things. So it just appealed to me like it was like the most raw form of fighting at the time before I knew about MMA.
Right.
I felt like it was the most complete form of fighting. And it was the most brutal one as well. So I felt like it was reserved for only the toughest guys. I felt like, boxing, you could, like I've had boxing fights, I've had lots of MMA fights, and you can get out of a MMA fight scotch-free. Like you have no scratches, no bruises, not banged up. A lot of things can happen and you don't get hurt or your opponent. But in Muay Thai, it doesn't matter which one of us wins. Everybody's going home hurt. Like, 'cause it's going to be just like, there's going to be a lot of kicking and punching. And so.
Well, isn't it the reality is like, for example, jiu-jitsu, that's kind of a non-contact. It's more of a rolling, a grappling. You're on the ground, you're trying to submit, you're trying to get different submissions and stuff. Boxing, like you said, you're on your feet, but there's a lot of dancing going on. People can circle quite a bit. They're throwing punches, but Muay Thai is like 8, isn't it like the art of 8?
Correct.
8
limbs,
I mean, you got elbows, you got punches, you got kicks, you use your knees. So it's everything. So you're going to get beaten up a little bit.
You're going to be hurt if you win or lose. You're going to
be hurt. Listen, how do you stay healthy, man, choosing a combat sport like that? I mean, obviously you fought for a long time. You got a few battles, I know, underneath your belt and a bunch of good wins professionally as well. Right. What'd you do to stay healthy, or did you get any bad injuries?
Honestly, as far as fighting goes, I've been very fortunate. I haven't had any serious injuries fighting. Like, I think the worst thing, I had a broken hand, punching someone. I
did that punching a wall when I was a kid. Come on, man.
But that was like the worst I can remember. And I think in jiu-jitsu, in one of my jiu-jitsu matches, I had one of my teeth knocked out when the guy, I had his back, he stood up and did a front flip and my face hit the mat. Yeah. So I lost a tooth there. But other than that, I've been very fortunate not getting hurt, staying healthy. it's just, I think you condition your body.
You know what? I just got to love that. That's a true fighter right there. Somebody says, you know what? I broke my hand, I lost my tooth, but I never really got hurt. You know, that type of thing.
I mean, yeah, that's how I feel. I feel very fortunate. I've seen people that I've personally put into the hospital, and I felt bad for them and had like lots of serious injuries and cuts. And, you know, I was like, man, I'm glad that's not me. And I felt bad after some fights when I hurt some people.
Do you really?
Yeah,
do you really feel bad, or do you think that could have been me?
No, I mean, you know, the thing is, it's either me or him. So I rather it's him. But like afterwards, you're like, you never go in wishing someone's gonna get hurt. Like I always, in my mind, I'm like, man, I hope this fight goes well. I hope, you know, I'm thinking I'm gonna win, but I hope the guy doesn't get injured. You know, I hope we both make it out safe. You know.
Have you ever seen anybody get really hurt? Anybody like die or anything in the ring?
Yeah, I had a student of mine die actually in my arm.
Student?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's horrible, dude.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. What? Do you mind sharing that with us a little bit?
Yeah,
Tell us what
it was a female fighter. She was a athlete. She competed a lot. She was very good, and we actually had an event in Florida. I forget what year this was. This must have been maybe 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And
How old?
she was probably in her late 20s.
Yeah.
And
It's probably right when females just started really fighting more, right?
yeah,
right?
she was very active. She was a good fighter, and what ended up happening, she got knocked out during the fight. You know, we went into the ring. The doctors made sure she was okay, like every time when someone gets injured. And then she was unable to get to her feet. She was saying she didn't feel good. So I picked her up, carried her backstage. And by the time, like, while I was carrying her, she just kind of passed out in my arms. The doctors came, tried to revive her, keep her alive. The helicopter came in. They flew her right to the nearest hospital in Orlando. By the time we made it from the venue to the ER, she was already passed. Like, she had, I guess, the swelling of the brain and too much blood, and she passed away. We did not know, like, they said that it could have had something to do that when she was very young. Her mom said when she was about 7 or 8 years old, she got hit by a car, and she shouldn't have maybe been in combat sports because she had some previous brain injury.
Sure.
But she's fought a lot before that, and it was, you know, it was nothing out the ordinary, you know. And that was kind of like the very sad thing.
Heck yeah, that's
terrible.
horrible,
Yeah.
man. I can only imagine, especially when it's a student of yours, somebody that you're looking out for and training. Horrible thing. So, you know, how did that affect you afterwards?
Man,
I mean,
it affected not just me, but like everyone in the gym, the community. Like, you know, everybody was pretty heartbroken about it, you know. And it's like a rude awakening. You're like, hey, this is a serious sport. Every time you step foot into the ring or cage, there's a potential of getting killed, you know.
So, you know, that is something I think, you know, so many viewers and people out there today, they look at TV, it's entertainment, right? You know, they're paying for a ticket. They want to see a show. They want to see people getting bloodied and beaten up and stuff. But they don't realize those two people, like you said, they're fighting for their death. And I think that's the one thing about MMA and with the UFC and stuff, they've done such a great job educating and letting people understand. And that's the whole purpose of the whole tap, right? The tap means, hey, I'm dead. You got me.
Yeah.
You know, let me go so I don't really die. But it's unfortunate if you get caught or something to that level or caliber, anything can happen.
I mean, there's people that I've also seen get hurt who after the fight could never fight again because they had severe blood or brain damage from the blows sustained in the fight. You know, sometimes the referee maybe doesn't jump in too soon or soon enough. Sometimes, you know, maybe the corner didn't throw in the towel when they should have. So that's something that I
Did you ever blame your corner when you fought? So, do you ever blame your corner or blame a referee for anything like that? No matter what side you're on, whether they stopped it too soon or should have stopped it sooner.
I mean, I've seen sometimes referees not stop the fight soon enough, where we actually ended up in a brawl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You took on the referee?
No. It was actually this happened at an event in Athens, and this was many years ago. I want to say maybe 17 years ago or so.
Okay.
But we had one of our fighters who was a big heavyweight, who was a very tough guy, never lost a fight until then.
Yeah.
And he was fighting another just as big and tough guy, and the other guy got the better of him. But when he dropped him, he kept ground and pounding him and beating him and, like, you know, cutting his face up and like hurting him bad. We threw in the towel. The referee didn't see it. So then, you know, like the one of the coaches at the time, who was his lead coach, Mr. Gary Brown, jumped into the ring, and the security jumped into the ring. And I think they thought that, somebody was going to hurt the referee, so the security guard
God, you just gave me flashbacks.
Man,
I got to think of Rocky IV, man, with Apollo and the Russian before, when he was throwing in the towel against Apollo, like, leave him alone, like the Russian's going to kill him. And, Apollo didn't want it to stop, but damn, it can happen.
Yeah,
man.
it can happen. So that's what happened. So then, before you knew it, it was like 20, 30 people in the ring. Big brawl broke out, and police came, and people were throwing cans and beer bottles into the ring at us because everybody was fighting.
What'd you do first? Come on, who'd you grab?
I don't remember who. I think I punched one of the security guys first.
Oh, yeah?
Because one of my teammates and, one of the people that, I looked up to, his name was George Allen. He grabbed the security guard, who was a really big guy. He grabbed him and was headbutting him into the corner. So I think I came up on the stage, I came up on the ring, and kind of like Superman punched him from behind. I don't know. It was a brawl. It was a lot of people involved. So
Did you take your shirt off first?
No.
Come on, because a lot of players they'll strip their shirts off first and they
there
go
was
in.
no time. There was no time. It was moving so fast. There was
Yeah.
no time to take the shirt off.
That's crazy, man. I would love to see some footage on that. I wish you had a little
It was
video on
even, I believe it was a YouTube at some point, but a lot of the stuff got taken down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. You see a little bit in boxing. Some of that stuff has happened though in real life, and even in MMA, man. Not too long ago, several years ago, remember Habib jumped over the freaking cage, right?
Yeah, his brothers did when he was fighting.
That's
McGregor.
right.
Yeah.
Connor got he got a little side swipe there,
Yeah.
and stuff, and cold clocked.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens a lot. And sometimes people are mad that their guy lost or how someone else conducted themselves, and fights break out.
So let's talk about that for a second, because there's a little stigma about fighters. There's two sides to it all, but there's that respect side that people think that fighters respect fighters, and there's the other side where people think that if you're a fighter, you got this egotistic little piece to you and stuff. Do you see some truth in both of that, or what do you see mostly when you're out there and you're seeing people competing and what you've competed against and everything else? Do you have a level of respect for other fighters, or
always?
Yeah?
I think we share, we spill the same blood, we sweat the same sweat. Like I respect everyone that puts foot in a cage or ring, because I know how much hard work it takes, and it's not just hard work physically, but it also mentally. It's tough to step foot in the ring. And so win, lose, or draw, however they do, if it's one fight or many fights, I respect everyone.
What's a risk, man?
It's a risk.
It's a risk. Let's face it. We talked about that a moment ago and stuff. I mean, you're risking your life, obviously, to do that. What made you want to fight? Growing up, like, you're from Germany, right?
Bosnia.
But didn't you?
I grew up in Germany.
Grew up in Germany originally. Yeah.
We had a war in Bosnia, so we kind of, we migrated to Germany as refugees.
Gotcha. Now, did your family fight? Did any family members? Or?
Actually, my first memory of when I wanted to be a fighter was, as I mentioned, I remember watching a boxing match on the black and white TV at my aunt's house, and I was maybe 5 or 6 years old.
Do you hear that, viewers? Black and white TV. We're showing our age now, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
So,
there was no 4K,
4K,
type of thing.
No.
Yeah.
No flat screen TVs.
Right.
But
who was your favorite boxer back then?
Boxer, Mike Tyson.
Mike
Tyson and Muhammad Ali. Those both.
Yeah.
I love both of them. I watched a lot of their footage always as a kid, and I was like, I wanted to mimic them, especially Ali.
Who do you think would win if those two fought today? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
It's a big argument, so I'm just curious. What do you think, man?
I mean, I don't think that I have any more love for any other fighter than Muhammad Ali, but I would say those two, Mike Tyson probably in his prime, he'll beat anybody, I think.
Yeah.
I just don't see anyone beating Mike Tyson in his prime.
Yeah. Well, he lost a couple times in his prime.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of conflict because of that.
I don't know if it was his prime when he fought Holyfield.
When the Bones there, caught. I know his mama died that day before, and everybody kind of felt like he had a little angel on his shoulder and stuff. And that was crazy. But yeah, Mike was definitely a force to reckon with. I'm curious how Muhammad Ali would talk a little too much and frustrate Mike, and he'd come in with those uppercuts, and maybe he'd miss. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be a great fight to see.
I'm surprised virtually they may still do it the way the internet is today.
AI might recreate
exactly.
it.
They may put them both up there and have each other fighting and everything.
I'm sure they might study all their moves and then create a virtual match.
Right, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. So boxing was your first thing that you watched. So that's what got you into it.
So that's what I watched this fight as a kid. I was like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. But that was what I wanted to do, and I didn't know how I was gonna get there or that there was even a possibility. It was just I knew deep down I wanted to do that. And then I remember my dad buying us gloves and me and my brothers boxing each other.
So you have brothers. How many siblings do you have?
2.
Okay, older or younger?
One is older. I have a twin brother.
A twin brother?
Yeah, I have a twin brother.
Who's the better looking one?
I mean, I think we're all pretty.
You both look alike, right?
No, we don't look alike. We're fraternal twins, me and my brother.
Okay.
But, I mean, we have different styles and we have different likes and dislikes. So I'm sure like there's going to be people who are going to say, hey, he's the handsome one, or someone's going to think I'm handsome. I don't know. So, but I think we
Well, wait a second. That had to have been pretty unique growing up. But, I know you said, so you don't have any resemblance at all? So you're totally opposite
you would never know.
So you wouldn't know. So you guys couldn't like swap chicks or anything like that when you were young?
We like different chicks too. So we didn't have the same taste.
Or guys. I don't know. Maybe you like guys. I'm just saying, just wondering. Have you ever played that switcheroo game? No. You can't do that if you don't look the same.
No.
That's funny. So, so you guys used to, beat it up around the house or what? Throw on the gloves? Dad said, hey, get the backyard.
My dad did karate. He was a karate black belt. He trained when he was younger. And
so
then
like
my
Miyagi?
grandfather.
Did he study it?
Yeah, he studied. He was pretty like,
because karate's a whole nother martial arts.
And back then it was different. Like it was very different back then. And he made us train. We didn't always like the practice. Because it was like too strict.
Yeah.
But learn how to use nunchucks and we were
so
always
your dad
fighting.
taught you this stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So that was cool. Hit myself a lot of times.
And until you didn't throw the garbage or do something that you were supposed to do, then he pulled nunchucks on you or what?
No, we got beat up for
Did
sure.
you get beat up?
There was no don't listen. Yeah, if you don't listen, you got beat up.
It's so funny because talk about that growing up. My dad was the same way, man. He just point at you, look at you wrong. If you didn't do something right, you got to back. I mean, you're getting your butt whooped.
Yeah.
These days now, these kids today, you can't touch them. Can't touch your kids. Just ask anybody. Well, my kid will tell you different, but 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 at the end of the day, it's like, Jesus, they're making it harder and harder and harder to raise children the right way.
Yeah, there's a fine line between abuse and I guess discipline, right?
Yes.
And like I make my kids work out. Like if they don't listen, I say push-ups, squats. Like I make them do push-ups.
They
till
start crying.
Yeah, that's like my form of physical punishment for them. Because I mean, nobody likes getting spankings and
Right.
So.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I took a couple of them. Yeah. And you know what? That changed my attitude on things. Yeah. I did things differently afterwards.
Same. No, we for sure deserved it, I'm sure.
Right. So out of the 3 brothers, who whipped who the most? Well, obviously you had a longer career, right?
I have an older brother, Adis. He's also fought a lot. He's had over 200 fights.
Oh, wow.
He's been very successful. He lives in Germany still.
Okay.
He's actually a police officer there, or he works in the prison. And
oh shoot, he's in a prison. He's fighting every day.
Yeah, he is. He trains the staff there. He's owned his own gym in Germany as well as in Bosnia, but he closed it after COVID because Germany was a lot stricter during COVID time, so he had to close his gym down. Unfortunately, but he's doing well for himself.
Yeah,
and,
that's great.
He has had a great career as well.
But who is the badass of the family? Which one of you 3?
I think we all have been pretty tough growing up. And,
come on, could your older brother knock you out? Could he knock you down?
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, he could, but he didn't.
No, we never hurt each other. We we had like always very like competitive training and we pushed each other, but we never hurt each other.
Gotcha.
We always I always want to see him succeed, coach him, be in his corner. He always supported me, and like we have so much love for one another. It's like like I love having my brothers, and so.
Well, it's nice too to know that when you go out, they're not fighting one of you; they're fighting all 3 of you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We got in a lot of scraps together.
Yeah,
it was always good to have them there.
That's right. Yeah. So obviously, growing up, so fighting was something that you did, as a kid and everything. But what made you want to pursue it, and actually fight pro?
Well, once I moved to Georgia, I got a job at this gym, Knuckle Up. I started coaching boxing.
Oh yeah, Knuckle Up.
Yeah. So shout out to Knuckle Up.
Yep.
I started coaching and competing more. There was more opportunity to fight, and I took it very serious. I was feeling like hey, this is my calling, and if the opportunity is there, I'm going to go for it. So, slowly I was growing into that, or growing and getting that confidence that, hey, I can do this. And then, eventually turned pro, and, it was great. I felt like I was very fortunate to be able to provide for my family and live a life that I wanted, through martial arts. And
Did you make a little money from it?
Yeah,
Nice
it was pretty good. Yeah,
A couple purses, decent purses.
yeah, good purses. I had some good sponsors and people that backed me up that I also appreciate very much. And so it's like a community, you're nobody without your fans, without your support, without your training partners. Nobody has ever made anything in life happen by themselves, whether that's business or, whatever it is. School, you learn from others,
Right.
So same thing in fighting. If you want to be successful, you're going to need good training partners, good support, a good manager, or if you don't have a manager, someone who's looking after you. And, I've had some people that I appreciate that have helped me a lot through the process. So
Well, that's
I'm
good.
grateful.
Talking about Muay Thai, obviously the training and having training partners and stuff, you got to really be careful because it is all striking. It is a lot of hitting, it's a lot of kicking, it's a lot of elbows, it's a lot of physical stuff. How do you turn that down a little bit when you're sparring with people, or can you, type of thing? I mean, I know today they got a lot more. They got pads. They got a lot more things today that they had back in the day, 20 years ago. I'm sure. So what did you do to remain healthy?
Well, we didn't really take too much consideration about our health back then. Like we would spar pretty hard. I mean, we would pull punches not to knock someone out. Like you try to hold back, but you have to go hard. Like if I don't push you hard and you don't push me hard and we don't test each other, you're not going to be ready for the fight. So, what a lot of fighters do nowadays, will do like something called a shark tank. So if you have a fight in a couple of weeks, we put you in a shark tank, which means you in the middle, and we switch every minute a fresh guy on you. So eventually you're going to be tired and, you're going to get your butt kicked, but it makes you better. So it's just getting to that threshold and being able to kind of, keep your cool and your wits about it and push, because it's going to get hard, You want the training to be harder than the fight itself, and the only way to get there is hard training.
Right.
So we hurt each other, but not to a point where we can't fight. But I will say that I have been, the injuries that I've sustained in my career were in training, the serious ones.
Training, yeah. And I can see that happening because I think, even when you're training people still want to test you, right? And they're going to say, hey, I'm just going hard because I want to make you better. But they're going hard because they want to see if they're better too.
True.
Type of thing. And they want to test themselves. I mean, I can't imagine somebody fighting. And, I've done some boxing. I've done a little bit of MMA training and stuff. I gotta admit, it makes you want to test yourself at times.
Yeah.
You almost want somebody to give you a little shove or a little push.
We all the same.
You know what I mean? We're men, right?
Yeah,
we like that. There's women now the same way. They just, but it's like if you're training, you're working so hard, you want something to kind of tell you that, it's working. You know what I mean? And stuff. So I can see how that could happen.
I mean, a lot of people come in the gym and they're like, hey, I'm never going to spar. I'm never going to fight. And then 6 months down the road, they're like, coach, can I get a fight? So they just want to see how good they got. Yeah. So it's a natural progression for a lot of people.
Hey, folks, this is WamBam at WamBam's podcast. I just wanted to let you know that we've launched our website and merchandise is now available to you. That's right. We have hats. We have T-shirts. We have hoodies. The hoodies have been going off the shelf already. The Stay Positive hoodies. That's right. Stay positive, folks, and keep tested negative. As you know, go to our website at www.wambamspodcast.com. That's www.wambamspodcast.com. Now back to our show. What do you think about that these days? You see there's a lot of different fight clubs. There's a lot of different venues now that are putting on. You get the NFC fights. You got locally, different things. Obviously, UFC's huge. Is done. Dana's done a tremendous job, with the UFC and what they're doing. You got Bellator. I know you fought in Bellator yourself, right? So, what is the difference between them, and what have you seen as far as the growth and differences?
I mean, it's important to have these local shows like NFC, which is a great show. They've been around for decades. David Oblas, who's the owner of NFC, has put on amazing shows. He's very consistent. That's the platform that most people fight, and if you want to get to the UFC, you're going to need these platforms to, kind of work your way up and fight your way up. So that's very important. And all the shows are great. You know, I mean, it's great exposure. It's great for the sport. The more shows they are, they're gonna just elevate the quality. You know, I love the competition. You know, I like that there's options like ONE FC, UFC, Bellator, LFA. It gives people the opportunity to kind of showcase their skills, and it's not so monopolized if there was just one big show.
We had Torres Finley, who actually was on Dana White's The Contender Series. He actually won the Contender Series. He was in here in our studio, and we potted with him and stuff. And, most of the time when you win the Contender Series, you actually they give you a contract and stuff. He was actually the first one they didn't get a contract to, which was very bizarre. And he knocked out, he finished his opponent in the second round. But he has a wrestling background. And during the fight, he didn't showcase his feet as much as he would have liked to. It's just the way the fight went. But he did what he needed to do to win, and he ended up submitting the guy in the second round. So it was kind of an unfortunate thing. But the reality is, there's so many people out there fighting. There's so many people that want that chance, and there's so many people that are going out there and trying to get to the UFC or get to that payday and stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
Do you find it? Obviously, you're a gym owner now, right? You have your own gym. Where are you working out of?
So my gym is called Gwinnett Training Academy. It's in Lawrenceville, in Gwinnett. So we've been around for like 12 years, since 2012.
Yeah, 2012. And now, where did you train out of? I know you said you worked at Knuckle Up, but did you do something with Top America's team?
American Top Team. So
American Top
I
Team?
started out at Knuckle Up. Back then, like, there wasn't many gyms. The Knuckle Up I worked at in Gwinnett closed at some point. And then I went to work for American Top Team. I was invited to be one of their head coaches. I coached there for close to 5 years. And then after that, I opened up my own gym with a couple of friends of mine, and we got licensed to be American Top Team of Gwinnett. So we had the license, and we were American Top Team of Gwinnett for several years until later on I changed the name to Gwinnett Training Academy.
Gotcha. Now, when you are when you take a brand like that and you're opening up a gym, do you have to teach a certain technique, or can you teach anything you want?
No, I mean, we fought for them as well. All of us fought and represented American Top Team. They just want to make sure that, the people that are representing their brand are, quality individuals, and, they have their own standards, but there's no restrictions on what you should teach or how you should teach. Like, we're all experts in our field, and so
right.
It was.
Well, American Top Teams goes back a long ways, and they've had a lot of successful fighters that have come through there, a lot of well-known fighters themselves. What do you think's been the hardest thing about being a fighter besides, taking punches? But I mean, as far as the whole thing, I know the training's brutal. Your body, you got to eat, your diet, all that stuff is tough.
Yeah.
But what do you think is when it comes to the business side? Because now that you're a business guy, you're an entrepreneur, you own several businesses and stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But what do you think the hardest thing about business is as a fighter?
As a fighter for business, I think nowadays it's going to be maybe for fighters to stand out. Back when I was fighting, there was no social media. I didn't have a Facebook, no Instagram, nothing. So, it was hard to market yourself in any way. And, I think to show your value, and the sport was not as prominent and liked back then. But nowadays, I think it's just harder for these young individuals to kind of stand out, maybe because there's a lot of trash talking. And one thing that I don't like is that, the more crap you talk, the more popular you get, and it's kind of taking away from martial arts. Like, we all we talked about respect and liking other fighters, and like, we all have the same interest. We want to provide for our families, we want to be successful, we want to make money. So I feel like just for that fact alone, you should respect everybody. They are having their own goals, and they hopefully get to that point at some point in their career. So I don't like that a lot of people feel like, hey, I have to talk trash, I have to be this bad guy, or I have to, because there's kids watching, you want them to have a positive influence, positive role model, Right. It's okay, a little bit trash talk here and there, it doesn't hurt, but like, just being disrespectful is kind of where I would draw the line. So I think that's kind of hard for the young up-and-coming fighters to kind of figure out, to find themselves and say, hey, this is, what I want to do, or how I want to proceed myself. If they don't, they feel like they're not getting seen.
Right. The one thing I will say, though, I think you can kind of tell. right? You could tell those that are kind of faking it, boxing, WWE, trying to be the bad boy and all that stuff. I think some people put Conor in that because Conor has had so much success. But the truth of the matter is, he wasn't cocky. He was just confident.
Yeah, he was confident.
You know what I mean?
Look at like Jake Paul. Like, for example, Jake Paul, he's become very successful based on more of his talk.
Well, I think it's how it started. I think now he's changed. Like you see, since he became an actual fighter, like I actually have a lot more respect for Jake and what he's been doing, because he don't have to do any of that by any means, right? He's not doing it for the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not doing it for the fame. He's already famous. So he's actually doing it to compete.
He loves it.
And he loves it.
Yeah, he loves
it. So I got to respect that, type of thing. And I think it's a different image. But I think there are kids like Kobe Covington, he's a trash talker. He's he's using his mouth to try to get some media, to try to get some publicity and stuff.
And I think he feels like he has to do it, And I think that's just a bad image or bad example for up and coming individuals. But sometimes those things sell, and that's the sad thing.
True. Who's a fighter you can't stand? Like if you could fight, you want to fight him.
Oh man,
come on! I know there's somebody. There's somebody you just said, man, I always want to knock this freaking clown out.
If there's not really. I don't have anyone that I dislike.
No? Then who's your favorite fighter?
My favorite fighter, active or non-active?
Either way.
I think...
Let's do both. Let's go active first.
Okay, active. One of my favorite fighters, I would say, I like Alex Pereira a lot.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. He's a good one.
Yeah, he seems like a very...
he just fights.
Level-headed individual. I love his style. I like that he's a striker. He always brings the fight. He comes to bang. I love that
competitive spirit.
He's like the man's man. I like that, and I like his style, and I like that he comes from Muay Thai and kickboxing. I know his story. He came up very poor upbringing as well from Brazil. So I just have a lot of respect for him, and I had the chance to train with him. I really loved his personality. So that would be my favorite active fighter right now.
Yeah. What about non-active?
Non-active, maybe one of my favorites would be Khabib and Fedor. Those two. Fedor is just a legend. He's done in the sport what nobody else has done. And Khabib, I like his humble style. I like his kind of like that very respectful
Khabib
approach.
Is just mysterious to me. Like, obviously, I have mad respect for him, right? As far as in the ring, what he's done. But he's just so mysterious because I think we haven't even seen the best of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think there's just so much more. There's so many more layers of him that nobody will ever know.
Yeah, it would have been good if he stayed around for a few more years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get to see some more fights. Yeah,
absolutely. I go back into the old time. What about old time fighters? You got anybody? When the UFC just started, getting big back in the Iceman days and the Tito's.
I love Chuck Liddell.
Randy Couture, and like Randy Couture to me was, he was the guy because he never said no to anybody. He fought all different weight classes, and he just wanted to fight. That was just it.
Yeah, I was sad when he lost to Brock Lesnar. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but look how the weight he gave up, man. That just shows you. I mean, remember that? He looked like a freaking little midget mouse compared to Brock.
Yeah, it was probably 100-pound difference between the two.
But he was taking it, man. He was taking a whale, and he was still giving it, bringing it in.
He was winning up to the point, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Who do you think is the best champion out there right now today? Who would you say is a GOAT in your mind?
Wow, man. That's hard to say. John Jones probably hands down the best fighter.
Agree.
Because he's just done, what nobody else has done. I wasn't a fan initially because he beat some of the guys that I really liked, like Rashad Evans and Rampage.
Well, Rashad was America's top team back in the day, right?
Yeah. And then he went to Blackzilians. And I loved Rampage Jackson. Was always one of my favorite fighters from Pride. And so when John Jones beat him, I was so upset. But I gotta give him credit. He's John Jones done what nobody else has done in the MMA world, I think. So.
He has, man. I'm a huge John Jones fan. I mean, he would be my GOAT, but not just because, he grew up over near Rochester, New York, kind of where I'm from, and some of the things that he's done, he's gotten a bad rap too. He's done some things off the,
we gotta separate.
Off the beat that he took, bad raps for. But the truth of the matter is, man, I've seen that guy do so many great things for people. I mean, heck, a lot of people don't even know he literally chased down a woman who got her purse robbed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And got her purse back for. I mean, who does that?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's nice,
and stuff. So
I'm sure, like, look, it's always like bad news spread a lot faster than good news everywhere. So, and people like to hear bad things happening to people, you know.
I know
So
it sucks,
I
right?
say, you
I
know,
hate
that's,
people that-
yeah, it's just people celebrate when someone's down. I don't like that. I want to see everybody succeed and do well in life.
Why do you think that is, man?
It's just the nature, like as they say, misery likes company, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's just the nature of sometimes people who have that negative mindset. You have to stay positive. I don't know anyone who's successful or doing good in life who wants to see others not do good in life, you know, or who you mind your own business. You go about your own business. You try to support and help everybody that you can along the way, and your life is going to get better too.
Well, that's why we always say here, man, stay positive. You know,
Yeah.
I always tell people you never know who you're going to pass on the way up. And
That's
again, you
right.
never know when you're going to pass them again on the way
That's
down.
true. That's
you
true.
know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
be careful. So if you're just
Yeah.
nice to everybody, you ain't never
Yeah.
got to worry about
Yeah,
it.
you
and-
never
and
know who's
stuff.
going to be maybe offering you a hand later on in business or in life. Or
That's right.
You never know.
You know, that's you know, athletes too, right? You know, you're fighting somebody and you know, you're both in there trying to kill each other, but 20 years, 10, 15 years down the road, you don't really, you end up your business partners.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff.
I
because
ran
you have the
into a
same
guy
love.
the other day, a couple of months ago. I was shopping for a car, and I ran into a guy I fought. And he's like the manager of the dealership.
Did you beat him?
Yeah, I beat him.
So did he really try to screw you out of the car or did he give you a good deal?
They did it all right. They, you know, it was two guys actually. Like one of them was the general manager of the dealership, and the other one was a manager. So both
Yeah.
of them, yeah.
That's cool. Now listen, you told us about, you know, you had a lot of crazy fights. You and your brother fought a lot, and you had what was your craziest fight? Bring us back to that. I want reincarnate this thing. I want to hear about this craziest
Craziest
fight.
fight?
Yeah, with you and your brothers and stuff.
You mean like outside the ring?
Sure, outside, inside, I don't care.
Oh man. We can't talk about the outside the ring fight.
You can talk about the outside. Talk about the outside. Let's hear it. Let's find out. Tell us what happened. We'll say this could have happened or may not have happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've been into some, we've been into some big bar fights, you know, when we were younger, and you know, I don't know if I want to tell this
So
story.
listen, man, as a bar fight, no, because let me tell you what, I got cracked with a beer bottle once. They're not fun, you know. So you know, how did it all start? Let me guess. Over a girl?
No, not over a girl. It was someone, you know, I was waiting in line to get into the bathroom stall, and I guess there were a couple of guys in the bathroom. Maybe they were doing drugs or something. As I was knocking on the door, they were being a little disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know, and they didn't know who's standing on the other side of the door. So basically, when they walked out, you know, I didn't have many words for them.
Oh yeah.
That's how the fight
So
started.
did they strike you first or what?
No, the guy was pretty tall, and he tried to mouth back off to me, say something when he walked out, and I didn't have the patience to say anything back.
Yeah.
And then, but I didn't, you know, it wasn't my city, it wasn't my bar, and he was there with a lot of people. So basically, then a big fight broke out. And
So now, did that happen afterwards? So you're in the bath. So listen, you're outside the bathroom. He's coming out. Boom. Obviously, confrontation happens. Did you knock him out?
yeah,
Yeah. So boom, he's on the ground.
yeah, I saw.
Now,
some
did you go to the
teeth
bathroom
flying.
afterwards?
No, I saw his teeth flying. We actually didn't
You
get.
saw
in-
his teeth flying?
Yeah, we didn't have time to go to the bathroom. We had to evacuate.
Oh, really? So that happened that fast?
Yeah, a lot of people got involved. It was, you know, my brother luckily was there, and he, like, you know, came to my aid because I was going to get jumped by a few more people that were there, you know, that saw it happen. And so we ended up fighting a few guys there and put them down, and then we had to take the exit.
Now, when you're fighting with your brother, you know he's there, right? Do you guys kind of circle back to back so he's seeing one side, you're seeing the other? Like, how do you get?
There's been times like that as well. But,
Yeah.
you know.
Now, are you swinging or are you kicking?
Man, I've kicked people before. Like, the first thing that I do is sometimes kick someone in the head.
Yeah.
And it just depends on the range. You kind of like see how far they're off. If they're close enough to get punched, they get punched. If they're too close, they get elbowed. Yeah, but there have been, you know.
So you know what, I gotta talk about it because when I used to, you know, obviously when I was going to the gyms and stuff and working on that kicking always was freaking brutal, man. You got to have shins galore. Like, I always worried that I would kick so hard that my leg would snap. kind of like Anderson Silva did in the fight there
Yeah.
when he freaking kicked his leg. Just
Yeah.
freaking, in fact, unfortunately, I was there. I lost a lot of money on that fight. Now I think about it because of it. Take me back to a bad moment. But do you ever have any problems with your shins or kicking somebody in the wrong spot or just kicking? I mean, you don't know. Like if it when you have contact like that, you're contacting the wrong spot.
Yeah, I remember having bruises on my shins.
I mean, it's a bone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, bruises is one thing, but
I mean like welts, like the size of like a Coca-Cola can.
indentions.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like just sticking out. Then there's been, but
I think when people fight though, they don't expect the feet to come up, because they're looking at your eyes, they're looking at, they're trying to, punch and stuff, and all of a sudden you get one across the chin. Lay it out.
Yeah, I had one pretty, fight that I remember outside of the ring where, we were actually going to Atlanta to like an after party for one of my students won his fight.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were just parked, or we were looking for parking, but we were stuck in traffic. And we were just next door to the club where we were going to go in. And while we were sitting, these guys, they were running across the street, and one of them smashed the hood of my friend's car. I was sitting in the passenger side. So I didn't really say anything. I just said, hey, why'd you do that? And this guy runs to the window and starts screaming at me, yelling at me like he was going to kick my ass. So while I tried to open the door, he was holding the door.
Wow.
And I kind of managed to push him because I was like, it doesn't matter how good you can fight if you're like a sitting duck.
Right.
So I pushed the door open. By the time I pushed the door open, stepped out, he sucker punched me and he hit me in my mouth. And I was like, and then I saw his eyes go big because he expected me maybe to go down after he punches me. He was a pretty big guy. So he looked at me, he started running, like he turned around like he was going to run, and I tripped him. He fell. And before I got to, get my licks in, I got grabbed by the police and the security guards that were like there by the door. And they were like, we saw it, but, we can't let you hit him. And so while the security guard was holding me, another guy came behind me and tried to swing on me, who was his friend. So now I'm like, man, these two guys try and kick my ass. And and the police was like, I saw it, but, you better get in the car and drive off. So I was pretty pissed about that. I got in the car, looked in the mirror. I had my lip was busted. And I was like telling my friend, like, just drive me home. Like, I'm mad. Like, I don't want to go into this, after party. He's like, no, let's park on the street. He still wanted to go. So I was just mad I didn't get my licks in. I was like, it's okay if you punch me, but I want to at least go out and
give me a chance to punch you back.
Right.
Yeah.
So we went down the street. When we parked, my friend went to, drop money into the parking meters. And he comes running. He's like, hey, Amir, there's these guys that punched you or tried to fight you. So I was like, oh, here's my chance.
They're at the party?
Yeah. No, they were like on the parking lot.
Oh.
So they were also like, I guess they circled back around. This was in Buckhead, like some
Back
10
in the
years
day.
ago. Yeah, about 10 years ago. And so like I ran up to them. It was three guys. So the one that actually punched me was in the middle. And he was like, what's up? You want some more? So I stepped up to him. Yeah.
This is what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
This is what you were waiting for.
So when I stepped up to him, he stepped back, and the guy that swung on me was to my left. So I head kicked him first.
Yeah.
So he went down, and then the other guy that punched me, I punched him next, and he went down. And then I started, beating him while he was on the ground, and the other guy started running, so I went after him. So long story short, I was actually in mount punching the guy that swung on me. He had like long hair. I don't remember what else he looked like, but I was on top of him. I was sitting on him and ground and pounding him. And then all of a sudden I see the police headlights and police light on me.
Was it the same ones?
It was a different cop.
Oh,
He was
okay.
driving by and he put the lights on me, turned on the lights. I just got up. And so I was lucky the police officer came, these guys that get picked up off the street, and he asked what happened. I told him, hey, this guy swung on me. He punched me. It was self-defense.
Sure.
I didn't tell him they hit me up the street. I just told him he hit
Just
the car. I got out, and the guys were screaming. They were bloody. They were all welt up and, missing some teeth. And they were like, I want to press charges. And the cop is like, if you press charges, I got to take both of you to jail. So he like put his hands like this and he started punching the cop, like, or pushing the cop, like, okay, arrest me.
Oh.
And then more police came, and the officer that actually pulled up from Atlanta, he was like, he pulled me to the side and said, just dip out. And so I just dipped out.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah. So, I just ran ran, to another building and kind of called a friend who picked me up, and then I went into the after party happy. So that was one story that I can tell, I think.
Wow, that's interesting. You know what? You got to be careful though, especially because you get your pro card, right? So once you got your pro card, you have legal weapons in your hands.
Correct.
So you get treated differently than a guy like myself. I don't have a pro card. I'm gonna fight. But you're a pro. You know what to do with your hands. Does that ever affect you, or think of the process of that?
Well, I never want to fight outside of the street. Like if I can avoid any conflict, I will. I always, even if it's someone else's fault, I'll apologize. I'll say I'm sorry. Like it doesn't. I don't have an ego. If you cut me off in traffic or whatever, you insult me, I can take it. I'm all right. I'm a big man. It's not going to change my life. I know who I am. But yeah, it's like, I try to avoid conflict best I can. I would advise everybody not to.
Well, it sounds like you had your days of fun, and learn. So take one thing that you learned from fighting, that you could take out there and say, this was a positive influence.
Oh, I mean, a lot of things. I mean, the discipline from fighting, it translates in other aspects of life really well. The understanding that you can do anything that if you put your mind to it and if you work hard enough, I think that goes across the board for everyone that trains. And then, the many benefits of I've met a lot of people. I traveled the world for fighting. I've fought all over the world. I met a lot of great individuals.
What was the coolest place you traveled to?
My favorite place is Thailand.
Thailand?
Thailand is my favorite place.
It's right where your skill came from, right?
I love Thailand. The people are awesome. The food is awesome. The weather is like there's no downside to Thailand for myself.
Yeah.
But many great places. I fought in Kuwait. I loved Kuwait because the food was extraordinary good.
It's all about the food with you. I see we got a little something in common here. If the food's good, the fighting's great.
Yeah, that's my place. Take me wherever the food is good. And
well, you got to go to Italy because the food's good in Italy.
I love Italy too. But yeah, so the beautiful thing is you get to travel. Fighting, brought me close to a lot of good people, opened a lot of doors for me. So most of my friends I met somehow through fighting, whether it be the gym or, fighting related or traveling somewhere because of fights. And then I made friends. So I take, I'm very blessed that I had that opportunity.
Yeah. It sounds like people have so much stigma on fighters too, where they think, just a bunch of meatheads or a lot of testosterone, right? Everybody's on the sauce, they're just, trying to, man each other up and stuff. And they don't realize that they're actually some very, very, very intelligent people that understand. And like you said, respect the sport, respect the game, and understand what it's done for you as far as giving you qualities that you can take into life and help you succeed. Yeah. And you certainly have done that, and I want to talk about your entrepreneurship and what you've done, since you've stepped away from fighting a little bit. Although I still think you could fight, do you ever think about that? I mean, do you ever,
I mean, I feel like if I committed myself to wanting to fight, I could still fight.
How many weeks would it take you to get ready? How many weeks do you need?
Probably about 8
week weeks, camp. Yeah. Boom, you ready to go? 8 to 10. Bang it out. Yeah. So that NFC, you never thought about, let me just do a local one.
Yeah, if I gave them a call, I'm sure they would gladly put me on a card. It's just, so much going on, and it's a very selfish
Would you
sport.
like to do that?
Yes, if I have the time, I would. One thing that that's difficult is just taking away time from my children.
Sure.
Like, I love spending time with my kids, and when you are cutting weight, when you're training, you have to be selfish. You got to go on time to bed, eat on time. You're a little bit grumpy because you're cutting weight.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I just don't want to take away the time of my children. I feel like that's, something that, money can't buy, fame can't buy. It's just very hard to,
I agree.
convince myself.
Has your children ever seen you fight?
Yeah, my son was old enough to see me fight. They've seen fights on YouTube and, fights on TV that we have.
Gotcha. But what would that be like? Just think about this, man. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there. I'm going to manifest this for a second. Your music. What's your music? What's your come out music?
I have there's a specific Arabic nasheed that I come out to always.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So the music's on. You're walking out and you look in the corner, and in your corner, your cut man are your children. They're sitting there. Well, I mean, what could you imagine? There's no fucking way I'm going to lose tonight.
Yeah, it'd be stressful too.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, my mom never came to any of my fights. That would be also stressful to have my mom there, I think.
Well, yeah, she don't want to see her baby get beat up.
Yeah, so
who does?
You never know how the outcome is going to be, and then you like just worry about things.
Mm-hmm. That's true. What about your brothers? Were they there supportive?
Oh yeah, most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they ever in your corner?
Yeah.
So they have,
Both of them.
talk about the corner a little bit real quick, because obviously you got coaches, you got cutmen, there's a lot of different people that are in the corner. But when you're fighting, you're focused, because you're in combat. But do you take a lot of information from them? Do you look forward to for that minute rest to sit there and get some information?
You hear
How
everything.
important is that to you?
Like you will hear everything during the fight. When you're fighting, you'll like if me and you talked and trained together. Like I'll know your voice out of all the fans screaming and yelling. I'm like, oh, that's Phil. Oh, that's Amir. This is so and so. You know exactly who's yelling at you.
That's my baby, Daddy. Come on, Daddy.
Yeah, you hear everyone's voice and you get good information. And sometimes people are just screaming, punch him, and so nonsense. But like if you get good information, you hear it.
Yeah,
your body or your ears or your brain.
Do you have any coaches though that you really like? If they say it, I'm gonna do it. Type thing, or is it just kind of a reference? Like, okay, I hear you, but I'm the one in the middle of the ring.
Well, you have kind of like a game plan. You kind of try to study, if possible, what you should be doing against a certain fighter. Now, things change during the fight, and the coach might say, hey, like he's leaving this side open, or you should look for the head kick, or you should look for the leg kick. So you take whatever advice they give you serious, because they see things that you sometimes can't see in the ring.
Yeah, that's good. I got a feeling you're gonna be back in the ring again.
Yeah, I wish.
And, you let me know, because WamBam wants to be there, man. I want to be there in the side.
I'll let you guys know if I
for
do.
sure. So let's talk about the businesses, man. Obviously, we know you had a gym, but talk about some of the things you've done after fighting, and some of the success you've had in those things.
Yeah. So one of the opportunities that I got is to start a medical practice with some friends, and it's called Innovation Health. We specialize on anti-aging, stem cell therapy, hormone replacement, various things like
What? So that's a big thing right now. That's a big topic and stuff. So you're doing, like, for example, the stem cells and stuff. Let's talk about this, because I'm actually going through some stuff myself right now with my shoulder and everything.
We'll take care of you. Sure.
Well, they want to do a shoulder replacement, because I did I've already done I had rotator cuff surgery. I did the cleanup afterwards last August.
Cool.
I did gel shots. I did a cortisone. And man, I'm in pain, man. It's another like you got the arthritis is so bad.
Oh man, I can highly suggest stem cells. I've done them myself.
So and this is why I'm bringing this up. Gary Brecka, who I'm actually working with. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Brecka, but he's a human biologist, and I'm going on this journey with him with his 10x health and stuff. And that's the one thing he told me about 3 days ago is doing the stem cells. You got to try the stem cells with it, because it's a different.
It's a game changer.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean,
so you've seen it.
Yeah, I've done it myself. Like, remember I said I broke my hand in fights before. My hand used to go numb in the mornings. I couldn't pick up a phone until I massaged my hand. There were a lot of, kind of injuries that were like kind of nagging for many years from fighting, or from decades of abusing my body. Like, I realized I didn't get hurt maybe during a fight, but my body has been abused for decades from training. So I've had a lot of injuries that were nagging me for many, many years. And last year I've done stem cell therapy, and within months, all my injuries that I've had went away.
Wow, that's amazing. Tell us how that works. Like, explain to the viewer, explain to myself, how does that actually work? Like, what happens?
So stem cells, those are basically like the building blocks of the body, and the way the stem cells they are taken out of umbilical cord blood from once. So let me start over. The stem cells come from an umbilical cord, and the blood from the cells come from the blood of the umbilical cord, and those are from babies who come in the world through C-section. They are unidentified cells, so they've never been part of somebody, right? So we all have stem cells. Stem cells are like our building blocks. So how a child, when they get a scratch, their body heals up really fast. That's because children have, I believe it's like 1 in 10,000 cells in a child or in a baby is a stem cell. For adults, that decreases as we age. So a teenager might have
they die off. They change.
Yeah, they die. You just have less and less cells as you grow older.
Right.
So let's say a teenager might have 1 in 500,000 cells, a stem cell, and an adult might have 1 in a million cells to be a stem cell. So our bodies regenerate and repair very slow in comparison to a child. That's why a child goes from a baby to, let's say, a 10-year-old whatever, fairly fast. They grow a lot. We don't grow anymore. And as we die or as we age, the cells die off, and once the cells die off, we die as well. So by getting these stem cells into your body, like wherever the injury is, they help regenerate that. So they can basically help grow muscle tissue, bone, tendons, organs. We've seen people with heart disease or heart issues that have been helped. We've seen a girl that was blind in the eye. We got to help her get her vision back completely. She was scheduled to have her eye removed because that's how bad it was.
Right.
And then she avoided eye surgery. So we've seen a lot of, personally on me, I've seen what it did for me, like all the injuries that I've had and the nagging injuries.
That's great.
To a point where I was having a hard time training, and kind of day to day was hard. After stem cell surgery, like I was back to training. So now I'm training just as much as I did when I was active and in my 20s. So yeah, there's
So the stem cells are actually coming from newborns type thing?
So they come from umbilical cord.
So it's somebody else's stem cells that you're
Correct.
injecting
So these
into?
are these are new cells that have not been in anybody's body. Then they unidentified. So then once they inject it into your body, they'll latch on to whatever area they injected in, and your DNA, your body will give them signals what is injured. So when you have, let's say, inflammation, that's your body just saying, hey, we hurt. So when the stem cells are injected in your shoulder, they will identify with that tendon, the muscle, whatever is hurt, and help repair it. And because our bodies now at this age, we don't have enough stem cells to heal on their own. When you receive new stem cells, they'll go in there and repair the body. And they also multiply. So cells themselves, they multiply every day. They multiply for about 6 months. So when you get your injection of stem cells, they're going to multiply for the next 6 months daily. There's going to be more and more of them. So just because you got a shot in your shoulder doesn't mean, let's say, your foot won't heal as well. So you see a lot of other things get better as well.
How often do you have to do it? Is it just a one-time, one and
Some
done?
people will do it one and done. Sometimes we have like a lot of professional athletes or a lot of older people who want to just do it for general, like anti-aging. They're like, oh, I want to live to 100. It's like the fountain of youth kind of,
Right.
They just come in and do the stem cells because they want to feel better. They want healthier skin, healthier organs, healthier bodies. But then, athletes do it just as preventive maintenance, And then a lot of people do we treat people who have back issues, joint issues, arthritis, all sorts of injuries and complaints. We've seen pilot who was a Air Force pilot, or was he? Yeah, he was an Air Force pilot. He flew a helicopter in the desert, in Afghanistan, and he said he had a lot of crash landings because you have to crash land, I guess, in the desert because you can't go slow. There's too much sand, and he wouldn't see. So his neck was like fused together basically from all the landings, carrying a big night vision helmet with night vision goggles.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he said, so basically grounded up all his discs in his neck.
Wow.
So, he's much better now after stem cell therapy. Seen a lot of
Damn, you got me sold, man, on this a little bit. I'm gonna
It's
have to
amazing.
come check it out because, like I said, I've heard about it. So I did PRP on my knee way back in the day. It didn't really go so well for me, and that's where they spin your blood and do all that, and you trying to do the similar thing.
We do PRP, but it's kind of like it's
totally different scenario now.
So now stem cells is like PRP times 1,000.
Right.
It's a whole nother level.
Yeah. Oh. How is it reasonable? Is it expensive? What's it like?
It is really reasonable. I would think we are actually the most cost efficient in the state of Georgia, maybe even in the
That's
States.
a businessman right there, folks. Did you always say it's more cost effective? I love that, man. It's not the cheapest.
No,
It's
we
cheap,
are also
cheap.
I wouldn't use the word cheap,
Right,
but
that's what I'm saying.
we are the least expensive in the state of Georgia for sure, maybe in the nation.
Yeah.
But just for the fact that we want people to learn about stem cells, we want people to experience it. We want to treat more the masses than just only the people who can afford it. Nowadays, it's only like actors, movie stars, athletes who can afford stem cells.
Right.
And we want to make it more kind of streamlined where
Anybody
can get it, and so we're keeping the cost very low so that people can afford it, people can get the therapy. And also what it's going to do is, hey, the Joe Schmo down the street who just got the stem cells is going to say, hey, I'm feeling better. He's going to tell other people, and more people are going to learn about it and be able to get the help they need. I seriously believe that if more people knew about it and could get the help they need, we would not have as many sick people in the world. And, there's a lot of people who are now dependent on medication or painkillers because they have no solution.
No alternatives.
They're not familiar with alternatives.
Right.
And there's an alternative.
So, you talk about anti-aging, and that's a huge-ass topic these days as well. How do you reverse aging, right, type of thing? And, I know a lot of this biohacking because I'm kind of doing it in the process now, but with the whole red light therapy and, oxygen, generation stuff and what you're doing with your cells, obviously cold plunging and all that. What's your take on anti-aging, and what do you guys offer? What do you feel like that's very important? If you could tell the viewers what's important in order for that to happen.
Well, I think stem cells are probably the best thing out there now for anti-aging. But, we also have IV therapy that helps. NAD is one of the things that people like a lot. And then, of course...
What is that?
NAD.
What does that stand for? What does that represent?
Oh, I cannot give you... the medical term, you have to look it up.
Okay.
It's hard to pronounce what NAD stands for.
Gotcha.
But,
we'll get Alex over there to look it up for us.
Let him look it up, and then he can try to pronounce it.
But what is it? What does it actually do? Explain to it what that is.
So it really helps the body. How do I explain this the best? Can you pull it up?
You pull it up there, Alex. So NAD stands for
Nicotine. You pronounce it.
Nicotinamide adenine
Adenine.
dinucleotide. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Something like that. Found in all living cells. NAD is called a dinucleotide because it consists of two nucleotides joined through their phosphate groups. One nucleotide contains an adrenaline nucleobase and the other nicotine. Yeah, I'm not a scientist.
So it's hard.
And you got to be a scientist to
So
understand.
it's hard to explain, but I've seen the positives, and I've had some of the NAD treatments myself, and it gives you a lot of energy. It's good for the mood. They use it to help treat what is it called? When people have dependencies on certain
Addictions?
Addictions. They use it to treat addictions, correct? So it's got a lot of great benefits, and it's not very expensive at all.
That's great. That's great. So obviously you have that business, you have your gym and your gyms. Are you going to open any other centers? You looking to multiply?
Well, we're working right now on our second location for Innovation Health, which is going to be by the Mall of Georgia in Buford. And, the goal is to keep expanding and keep growing and,
Nice.
helping the masses.
Now, one of our major sponsors here is Cost Plus Processing. We got to talk about getting the credit cards over there, especially in the new location.
Hell yeah.
We got to work that business mode,
Sounds good, yeah.
Hey, folks, this is WamBam at WamBam's podcast. I want to take a moment to thank our major sponsor, Cost Plus Processing, the leader in merchant processing. If you're a business owner and you're accepting credit cards or need to accept credit cards, reach out to Cost Plus Processing at 1-855-391-9190. That's 1-855-391-9190. And find out why they are the future in merchant processing. Now back to the show. So that's something that's important. Being in the gym business, gyms are hard. Yeah. And you know what? I know a lot of people that love to train, a lot of people to work out, a lot of athletes. The first thing you want to do, even myself, I always want to own a gym, right? You want to own a gym. But there's so many gyms out there, and gyms aren't always that profitable. What have you learned? Like growing your brand? Obviously, you've done a great job, and you're one of the survivors out there with it all. But tell us a little bit about the journey of actually owning a gym business and what it's like with the competition.
Owning a gym is a very difficult business, and unfortunately, a lot of gyms close. I just heard recently that Knuckle Up closed. Which is sad for me because that's why I cut my teeth. That's why I learned a lot. It was a great facility and good people there. From all my experience was nothing but positive there. So it's a difficult business. It's a hard business because it's a very unique. It's not like, let's say, a Lifetime or a LA Fitness where people can just go in and pay for a membership. Anyone can go. You are really catering to a specific niche group of people who are wanting to either learn martial arts and people who are comfortable with maybe contact sports. And the
And
price
I
point
think
is a
that
little higher.
changes. I think that's a part people don't think about when you think about gyms and stuff. Your clientele changes year to year, right? Because the people that may join up today, they get hurt. We talk about getting injured, or they go on a trip or vacation and they stop training for a little bit, so then they just stop going,
Right.
Because it doesn't fit, or some people it doesn't fit in their budget.
Right.
They got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and now they're feeding 2 people, or they got a baby. So I think that's the one thing I think about specialties. I think that more and more people want to do it. What are your thoughts about bringing martial arts into schools and actually, you got wrestling, you got baseball, you got basketball, you got all these different programs. They got flag football now for girls and different things. Why not MMA in schools? You ever think that would be is it just too much because it's combat sports and they don't want the kids fighting and they want to teach them that? Or to me, it's self-defense, man. It's, show them the proper way of discipline, self-defense, and how to fight.
Right.
You may stop them kids on the streets that are
That's
actually
right.
fighting and stuff.
That's
What are
right.
your thoughts on that?
I think you're 100% right. I think that schools should teach martial arts to kids because they'll teach them discipline, they'll teach them respect, but also they'll teach them self-defense. And that's like, we get a lot of parents that come in, unfortunately, after the kids have been bullied, and they come in, they're like, oh, please help, or what do I do now, or what is going to happen with my child, or how do I protect my child? So starting early, and also the schools come to us sometimes and asking for help. So starting early kind of is like preventing those things to happen. Also, I would say maybe a lot of bullies, they don't even know that what kind of harm they're doing someone unless they get punched in the face themselves. And that would be like an experience like, oh, this actually doesn't feel good. I don't want to get punched in the face, so I'm not going to punch anybody else in the face.
Right.
And it kind of levels the play field, I think, as well. Like when you can protect yourself, it gives you an opportunity to stand your ground, stand up for yourself, and not be a victim, And I've seen even elderly people come and say, hey, finally I've decided to learn martial arts because something just happened recently to me.
Right. They wait till after the fact.
Yeah.
And to me, it's education.
Yeah.
You're educating, the kids of what to do and how to do it, right? Regardless of whether it's fighting, whether it's football, whether it's wrestling, whatever the sport is.
Correct.
You're educating them about it. And when you want them to be more educated about it in the school system where you have professionals, people like yourself that actually know what you're teaching, or these kids just want to go in the bathroom and, and fight it out and, circle around and stuff, or after lunch, type of thing.
Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with fighting. I just see something wrong with, if people take advantage of the position, or, I feel like if you're the stronger individual, you should protect others. You should be there to help others, not, bully anyone. So nowadays you see a lot of videos come out where kids have been bullied, and, also, the tragedy of kids taking their lives because, they don't know how to deal with bullying. And I think it's very, very important that, those kids getting bullied get the help, and also those kids doing the bullying get help and learn, how to be better.
But the funny thing about bullying, because I got bullied too, didn't realize it, but when you look back and you think about things, I think we all probably been bullied somewhere along the lines, whether it was as a child, whether it was at work, type of thing. Well, you feel like somebody's kind of bullying you around and whatnot. Heck, I think my wife bullied me a little bit here and there and stuff, back in the day.
Yeah.
But, everybody has a perception. But a lot of that, again, goes to the education and understanding what does that really mean? How do you identify the word bully? And a lot of kids are just, they're doing stuff because they think they're being funny, because they're trying to show off. They're trying to fit in. Some of these kids that are actually bullies,
They're insecure.
when you really break them down, they're lost kids. They're just trying to fit into some sort of a crowd or a group because they can't.
Yeah.
So they feel like they have to make fun of somebody or do something funny or silly or stupid to be accepted.
Yes.
And that's the part that sucks.
That's the sad thing. True.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You gotta get to the bottom of it, see why, I think if they knew better, they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And it's unfortunate because, you find out sometimes too late, because a kid did something to themselves to put harm on because they felt a certain way and they felt like that was, that was their only out.
Yeah. And being in the gym will protect the kids from that. If they can get the training at the school, they'll get a better sense of camaraderie, support, and, just kind of overall community when they are in the gym. So I think anywhere, if you have a chance to take your kid to a gym or even yourself, anyway, just go.
What about weapons, man? Just got to ask you real quick. Being a fighter, you ever had any weapons pulled on you? Any issues with any of that? Somebody throw out a switchblade or pop a gun in your head?
I've had a few.
You had a few.
I've had a few.
How do you handle those scenarios? You know?
It's just case by case basis, I guess. You know, I've been in several situations where guns have been pulled and drawn, but I was fortunate.
What would you tell a kid today if somebody pulled a gun on you? What to do? Because you don't necessarily tell them to fight back.
Yeah, there's no
because
fighting.
they
You
got a
cannot-
gun, they shoot you, it's all over.
I mean, cooperate.
You got to be smart about it.
It just, again, it depends the situation. Are you being robbed, or did you just get in an altercation and someone pulled a gun on you? Those are two different things.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. That's true. So let's take step one. Let's say you're being robbed. Somebody's being robbed at gunpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you handle that? Knowing that you're trained that you could probably whoop the snot out of this person. You know?
You stay calm. You forget about your ego. You cannot fight a bullet. Like, you're not going to be beating anybody with a gun.
Right.
So, you know, I think the best thing you can do is cooperate. But unfortunately, you know, sometimes when people, you know, cooperate, they still get shot. You see that as well. So the only thing that you can do is to prevent this from happening is be trained, be prepared, and be armed yourself. You know, that's all I would tell people, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I had a friend who recently got shot about 3 weeks ago.
Really?
Got shot. Yeah, he got murdered in cold blood, basically.
Oh, man.
He is a bakery owner in Lawrenceville. He is also from Bosnia. And, you know, he was at the bakery 7 a.m, just was walking into his car to get some change. Somebody was there trying to rob another business. The business was closed. He pulled a gun. He actually had a rifle on him and said, "Hey, give me what you have." He had $50 on him, gave him the money, and then the guy still shot him. So even when you cooperate, you know, you can get killed. So I think, you know.
And that's horrible.
It's terrible, man. It's heartbreaking. Like, a lot of, you know, like the whole community is shaking.
$50.
$50.
And now his family.
And the guy's in prison now. I mean, he's been arrested the next day. I'm like, you could have sold a gun for more than that. You know, like,
Right.
you know, $50, and then you take his life. It's senseless. But, you know,
God, you got to think about that, though. You
crazy.
know, like that changes my view on some things then. You know, because, you know, you just mentioned, you know, he cooperated and
still got shot.
unfortunately still got shot. So you can never really underestimate the situation you're in.
Yeah, I
in
mean-
my mind, you have to use diversion of some sort, okay, to divert the person who's armed, you know, and at you to try to get his attention away from actually shooting the bullet where you can catch him off guard, you know, type of thing. I mean, I mean, you see it, magicians, right? Actually, we had a magician on the show not too long ago and stuff, you know, where, you know, all of a sudden shit appears, right? And disappears. Like, you're like, what happened? You know, you kind of got to do the same thing in that scenario, but you got to be the one that can disappear.
Yeah.
You know,
Or
type of
maybe
thing.
appear with a gun all of a sudden.
Yeah, or appear with a gun. Exactly. Boom. I got one in my back. I just got to lean over to get it. So how am I going to do that? I got to.
Yeah, you see these guys that are always training and they're doing the dry fire shooting and they're training. I think that's a great thing. I mean, you should carry a
Do you
weapon.
teach kids stuff like that?
We have self-defense where we teach how to defend yourself from guns and weapons and knives. And man, I'll tell you, like, you know, it's hard. It's hard because, you know, we do sometimes training where we'll, you know, me and you will sit back to back on the ground, and then they'll toss a knife next to us, and then we're fighting who's going
Fight
to
for
get the
the
knife.
knife.
Yeah, and or the gun, and you know, you'll be surprised. It's not always the biggest, toughest guy that gets the gun or knife that wins, or the best trained one. You know, you have to stay level-headed. And if you don't train these scenarios, if you don't put yourself in that situation to practice, you're never going to be really prepared, you know?
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Now, let me ask you that scenario right there. We're back to back. Knife goes out. Do you go after the knife or you go after me?
you go after the knife.
You go after the knife?
Yeah.
See, to me, man, I want to go after your arms because if I got your arms, you can't get the knife.
Yeah, if you can, but the thing is, there's no guarantee I can restrain you.
True
You
that.
could be stronger than me. You could be faster than me. If I can control the knife, that would be the ideal situation, you know, if I can.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Anything you want to share that we, you know, as we wrap things up, Amir? And number one, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed meeting you and talking about that stuff. You've got some great stories, but obviously the viewers, anything you want to share and say to them, or words of advice and wisdom.
Words of advice, wisdom.
Especially to fighters, especially these kids that want to fight.
I mean, if you're looking to train, if you like fighting, or if you like just, you know, staying in shape, find a gym, you know, have a good attitude, show up every day. Consistency and discipline is key. Anything you want to do in life, you can do it. Be good to the people around you, respect your peers and your coaches, and yeah, treat everybody with respect and love, and life is going to be great. It's going to turn out amazing.
Amen, baby. Then there you have it, folks. And you heard it straight from Amir. Be nice to people, man. Just go out there, enjoy the people you're around. Never bully anybody. You never know what can happen. Don't be a victim or be that person that, you know what, you wish you weren't. And as WamBam always says, if your life was a movie, would it be worth watching? And if the answer is no, then stop being ordinary and start being extraordinary. And as always, baby, stay positive and keep testing negative. Till next Wednesday, this is your boy WamBam, and I'm out of here. This podcast was brought to you by Cost Plus Processing, the leader in merchant processing. Call 1-855-391-9190 and find out why they are the future in